Recorded Books presents an unabridged recording of No Place for Magic, Book 4 in the Tales of the Frog Princess, by E.D. Baker, narrated by Katherine Kellgren, and directed by Lynn Flanagan.
Chapter 1. A tendril brushed my face, tickling me on the nose. I jerked my head back and whacked it on the table leg behind me. "Wretched plant," I said, rubbing my head with one hand as I pushed the vine away with the other. Ever since my aunt had returned to her normal self, she hadn't been able to keep her mind on anything but her beloved Haywood. Her magic had suffered for it, becoming muddled and not quite as she'd intended. The flowering vines she'd planted in the great hall to celebrate their reunion had spread across the walls, engulfed the table legs, and threatened to cover the doors and windows. Because they were too tough for an ordinary knife to cut, it was up to me, the Green Witch, to keep them under control. Once again I was on my hands and knees, bumping my head and banging my elbows as I used magic clippers to trim the ever-growing vines. Being the Green Witch meant that I had a lot of extra responsibilities. Although I was the most powerful witch in Greater Greensward, as well as its only princess, most of the things I had to do as its protector were neither glamorous nor exciting. At least I didn't have to clean out the moat very often, a job I really hated. I was reaching for the next curling vine when a bright yellow butterfly landed on my finger and fluttered its wings as if trying to get my attention. "What do you want?" I asked. The butterfly stomped its feet with impatience. I raised my finger to my ear and tried to listen, but couldn't hear anything over the usual early morning bustle of the great hall. Squires were cleaning their night's weapons while flirting with passing maids. My father's hounds were scuffling over a bone in the corner. The steward was directing the hanging of new banners along the walls. I could hardly hear the tiny insect, but then I remembered that their voices were extremely soft. Hearing them requires a magic spell, undivided attention, and a very keen ear. I'd had enough practice creating my own spells that coming up with one to hear the butterfly was easy. Although I'd never spoken with a butterfly before, I expected its voice to be sweet. Instead, it sounded like an old man who was hoarse from shouting. "Take your time, lady," said the butterfly. "I don't have anything better to do. Just flit from flower to flower until I've inspected every one in that garden. It shouldn't take me much longer than, say, my entire life. So, what's it gonna be? Are you gonna see the old lady or not?" "Who are you talking about?" "I knew you weren't paying attention. I could be back at work doing something important, but no, I had to carry a message to someone who can't even be bothered to listen." "I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. What was your message?" "I don't have time for this. The old lady with the roses wants me to tell you that she's going to work on her house today. She wants to know if you're going to come help. That's it. That's all I know. If you'll answer her question, I'll be on my way. I have a lot of flying ahead of me, so if you don't mind—" "Yes, I'll be there. You have your answer. Now go." A shadow loomed over me as the butterfly zigzagged across the great hall and up to one of the windows. "What was that all about?" demanded my mother, who had slipped up behind me. I sighed and turned around. Although the removal of the family curse had made my grandmother and aunt sweet and kind again, it hadn't done a thing for my mother. She hadn't been affected by the curse, so she was the same as she'd always been. It didn't matter to her that I was the Green Witch and 16 years old. She still treated me as if I were 5. The only time she listened to what I had to say was when I turned into a dragon, and then everyone paid attention to me. Most of the time, she tried to tell me what to do while I tried to avoid her. If I'd been thinking clearly, I might have given her some excuse, but instead I made the mistake of telling her the truth. I told Grandmother to let me know when she was...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?